You are also using Teams through some browser maybe, and after recording, the video will be available through some browser, through some cloud provider itself, that is OneDrive, right? So cloud is part and parcel of our life. Let's see why we need cloud. Everything was going fine before cloud, but why do we need cloud presently? Some basic things. Population growth. Population has grown from millions to billions. Internet also boom. Internet is everywhere now, and these two lead to user growth. Now you know that each and every company, maybe just talking about Facebook or Twitter or LinkedIn, each and every company has a millions and billions user uh, base, right? So these are things led to the use of cloud, because cloud is the most basic thing which is helping almost each and everyone present over the earth now. So you can see the history of cloud is not just from some 2000 after the boom of Facebook maybe, but the discussions upon cloud are going from 1950. At that time too, we were having data centers, but those were not so high tech one. You have seen many photos that a 1 MB drive was about weight of some kind of elephant, right? So priorly the things were there, but they were in a very difficult manner, and now the things are getting cheaper and way more portable. So that's why cloud computing is in major use presently. Now let's check the advantages, that why to use cloud, right? So high availability. So cloud is almost available on every continent and country over the earth. You might be having some company in India, but still you can have your users from USA because it is available there. Scalability. So you can scale up. For example, just think that you have a user database and you have their data of around 1 TB, right? But at a sudden, like you might be having a user of around 100 users, okay? But at a sudden, your user base expanded from 100 to 1,000. So this is a big change, around 10 times more than the prior one. So cloud is very much scalable. If you are having 1 TB now, you can scale it at a second to 2 TB or to 10 TB, right? This also leads to elasticity, because when your user database is rising from 100 to 1,000, you will not have the idea that at a sudden it may happen from 100 to 1,000. So it is elastic. Elasticity means that your database or your storage can be expanded at any time, and after that you can pay accordingly. Agility. So agility means you can easily work with the cloud service providers, right? So priority, when people were having their own server, so you have people to manage the server first, and the people to manage the security and many other things, and then you will be needing more such people who are really skilled in almost these things. Then only anyone can work. But now everything is really easy. You yourself can make any WhatsApp clone and you can deploy it on cloud. It's such easy thing now. Geo distribution, as I was talking about it. So you can have your company or your setups at India, but still the USA people can use it. We are using Facebook, which is not an Indian company. It is being managed mainly by the USA people, but still we can easily use it without any hindrance. So that's the use of geo distribution, because almost every company have the data center in every continent, and many big MNCs have their data centers in almost every country. So it is really easy. You can just choose the location of your clients, and then you can set up your cloud there. Disaster recovery. As we all have used this, we might have changed our phone many times, and we have almost every time uploaded our documents to our cloud, to our Google Drive, right? So it is really recoverable. So you might be having many things. You don't need to worry about it. The thing is safe on cloud, right? Now, talking about CapEx and OpEx. So CapEx means capital expenditure and OpEx means operational expenditure. As you can see, CapEx has been demonstrated with a large money base and OpEx with just few pennies. That's the main thing in it. Capital expenditure means the major amount of spending. So let's talk that you are a startup. Okay, you are a startup. You need servers. You need storage capacity for your clients' databases. But buying everything at your own, setting up the data centers, maintaining its things like because the data centers are on for 24/7. You need to manage the electricity, you need to manage the cooling thing, and also you need to manage the security. Everything is not possible in a startup because startup needs to mainly focus on the product and their marketing. And those things which I talked about now, like maintaining your own data center, maintaining its security, its electricity, everything, setting up your own data center is mainly known as CapEx. OpEx, operational expenditure, means you just need to think upon your own company's work and marketing it. You don't need to worry about managing the servers and data centers. If you have data, you can just upload it and can don't just work upon it anymore. So this is the difference between CapEx and OpEx. OpEx are generally in use. OpEx means these cloud service providers because they are providing us their services and we just need to use it without thinking how they are managing their data centers. So this is the difference. In CapEx, it is a really large amount of expenditure at the beginning only because we need to set up. So if you are a big company, CapEx will be a benefit for you because you are a big company. You might be having a really large database. You might be having a really large user base. So this will help you in the wrong run because at the beginning you need to invest and then you don't need to invest in a single penny. But in OpEx, you need to spend whatever you use on a monthly and yearly basis. So if you are a startup, the OpEx is really beneficial for you. So talking about the building blocks of cloud. So cloud, as you can see the image. So this is the image. It is mainly built upon the 4 blocks: application software, development platforms, resource sharing, and infrastructure. Let's talk about these. So application software mainly depends upon the software as a service. We will talk about these. Development platforms is product as a service and also maybe platform as a service. Resource sharing and infrastructure blocks are mainly on the infrastructure as a service. So these are the building blocks. These are 3 different kind of categories in the cloud ecosystem. So let's talk about them. First is SaaS. We call it SaaS, software as a service. So as the definition says, software as a service is a software delivery model in which software and associated data are hosted on a cloud. For example, Gmail. So the Gmail you use, you generally use it from browser, right? So the everything of Gmail is hosted on the cloud. You just need to use it. You open it, you send any kind of attachment. So the attachment which you are attaching, it is saving somewhere. It is saving on your cloud. So you don't need to worry about the things that where the documents will get saved. You just open it and use it. Another example is Postman. You must be having hearing about the Postman recently because it became a really big company now with investment. Postman is also a SaaS-based product. So cloud providers deliver software as internet service, as I told about the Gmail. SaaS users simply use their browser to access the software, thus eliminating the need to install, run, and manage. You don't need to install Gmail, and even Postman also you can use it on browser. So that's the ease of SaaS. The web browser loads the SaaS application service dynamically and transparently, and we all have examined this on our own. SaaS characteristics. So access to the software service is web-based. So the software, Gmail is a kind of whole software, but you can easily access it over web from anywhere, right? Software is managed from a central location by the cloud provider. So the software is being managed by the cloud provider, which can be present in any part of the world. and you can use it from the other part. Software is delivered in one-to-many model in which one is the cloud provider and many is the cloud user. Yes. So Gmail is a software, right? And it is being provided for all. The Google don't need to make different Gmails for different users. They have one and we create accounts there. We create different accounts. So it is one-to-many model. The cloud provider handles software upgrades and patches. So we, as you know, that recently Gmail was updated with this new logo and different things. We didn't able to, like, we was not thinking that we need to update it like our mobile phone. That it is automatically done. We don't need to think upon. SaaS use cases. So SaaS is favored for applications that are fairly standardized and do not require custom solutions. As I said, email is an example. Applications that have a significant need for remote web mobile access, such as mobile sales and management software. Yeah. So this is work from home time. All are working from home with internet only, right? And many companies have their sales software, their management software, and they are using it online because the work must go on, and SaaS products can be used at those points. Applications that have a short-term need, such as collaborative software for a particular project. You might have used GitHub for your collaborative project. That is also a kind of SaaS product. Applications in which demand spikes significantly, such as tax or billing software that is used once a month. Yeah, I know you might not have gone through this tax billing part, but almost every family pays tax. Okay, we need to fill the income tax part. That is all done on some kind of software which is present as web format. We just open that portal and we just add upon our details. So these are the use cases of SaaS products. Now, SaaS is not favored for applications that require offline access to data. As I told, SaaS is a kind of software which is provided as web version. So if the things are needs to be done offline, then SaaS model will be not working because it will not complete our needs, right? Applications that require significant customization. You are using Teams now. You cannot customize it much because it is a SaaS product. But if some will be any kind of software, like you can really customize VS Code, right? So that is not a SaaS product. That is somewhat a software that you are using on your system. So that's the main thing. If you require to customize it at a large extent, then it will be not favorable as a SaaS product. Applications in which policies or regulations disallow data from being hosted externally, right? Many companies have applications that the data cannot be hosted on any other server because they have the privacy thing, and it is really important. So at that case too, we cannot go for the SaaS network. Applications in which existing in-house solutions satisfy all of the organization's needs, right? So if our needs are being satisfied by our present products, like as I said, before cloud also the things were going on, but it did not satisfy our work. So that's why we jumped on to cloud now. Same way, if the things are satisfying our needs, then we don't need to switch on the SaaS product. Let's talk about the examples. As I told, Gmail, similarly, Yahoo and Outlook is also an example of it. Premium model, and these are the basic examples. Postman, as I told, is also an example of SaaS. Now let's talk about PaaS, platform as a service. So the definition says the platform as a service is a computing platform that allows for the creation of web applications in a simplified manner without the complexity of purchasing and maintaining any of the underlying software and infrastructure. So platform as a service means the cloud service provider provides us with some platform and we just need to use that platform to create some kind of project. You might have used WordPress. It is kind of a platform as a service. We can just imagine it as a platform as a service because we use it on web to create some kind of other product, that is the website. So this is mainly the platform as a service. They provide us a platform to create something else. So it allows user to develop, deploy, and scale applications on platforms that are offered by cloud providers. PaaS is analogous to SaaS. Yeah, SaaS characteristics. So let's see the characteristics of platform as a service. Services to develop, test, deploy, host, and maintain applications in the same integrated development environment. We can use Azure. We can use Azure in different forms as PaaS, because it sometimes happens that we are coding something, we need to deploy it, but before deploying, we need to test it. So we can use Azure as PaaS too. Web-based user interface creation tools to help create, modify, and test various UI scenarios. We are talking about cloud, so everything will be on web. So PaaS characteristics is that it is also available in the web user interface form. Multi-tenant architecture in which multiple concurrent users utilize the same development tool. So PaaS products are available online. For example, let's say I talk about WordPress. So the tool is available openly for all, and anyone can go and create any kind of website. Built-in scaling mechanism of deployed software that can be handled automatically by the cloud provider by load balancing and failover mechanism. So the PaaS things have some kind of built-in deployed software facility. Like we deploy our websites and things on GitHub. So they have some kind of internal thing. We just need to use some kind of command, and that's it. The things are deployed on our GitHub. But they manage something, because when you will go to yourself buy some kind of domain and some kind of servers and then upload it, it is a long process. But on GitHub, they have some kind of internal process which helps you to ease the work. And that's how the PaaS model works. Let's talk about its use cases. PaaS is favored for the rapid application development scenario, right? So if you need to build something at a hurry in a very short time, then it can be helpful. Applications that require web-based infrastructure to handle varying loads from users. So you are working in work from home era. So you will need many such kind of applications which can be handled on web, because you cannot handle everything. You have a team to manage the thing. So PaaS can be used at that time because it is available in web format. Applications that may not need redeployment or migration to other platforms in the future. Yeah. So if you are someone who needs to change your deployment status, then you need to think upon it. But if you are a kind of startup, you can easily deploy your things over the PaaS, maybe over Azure or AWS, and can use it easily. Let's talk about where it is not favored. The application needs to be highly portable in terms of where it is hosted, because PaaS APIs can vary from one PaaS provider to another, right? So if you are hosting on Azure, but you want to change it to AWS, then it can be a hinder for you, because Azure and AWS they both are cloud service providers, but they both are totally different. If you will go with the mentality of Azure to AWS, then it will be really difficult. So if you are someone who will need to change the thing, then think upon it before changing or deploying it. Proprietary language or APIs could impact the development process or cause trouble in the future due to vendor lock-in. Right. So if you are changing your deployment status or your server, many things you might have coded according to Azure, but when you are changing into AWS, then it can create hindrance because you have coded or have done the things according to Azure. Application performance requires customization of the underlying hardware and software. This is because of the web portal availability, because these are available in the kind of web version, so you cannot customize it a lot. Past example is Azure Functions. So Azure Functions is a kind of software where you can just code the things and the things will get done. So this is a PaaS product. Post.com and Google App Engine. This, I think Google App Engine is somewhat used in apps development part. Next comes to infrastructure as a service. So its definition says infrastructure as a service is a cloud computing model in which cloud providers make computing resources available to clients, usually in the form of instances or virtual machines. So presently you might be using many virtual machines because companies have their own systems and many companies want you to work upon their system. So you are using their system as a virtual machine in your system to get the things done. For example, I gave the examination of AZ 900. The portal didn't open on my laptop because generally the examinations are given like NEET examination where we need to go to some kind of center to give the examination. But presently in the online era, some person from any college opened the system, that is the examination portal, on his system, and then that machine was working as a virtual machine on my laptop, and then I gave the exam. So it is known as somewhat infrastructure as a service. Cloud providers rent out compute resources in the form of instances or virtual machines. So the cloud providers, maybe Azure, they provide us their systems in rent and we then work upon. Configurable CPU, memory, disk, network bandwidth attached to them. Now, if we are using the system as a virtual machine, then we might be having different criteria that I want this kind of RAM, I want 8 GB RAM or 16 GB RAM, I want this much memory. So this can be customized. After provisioning, as users can remotely connect to these instances and configure their choice of platform and application. So these are web-based, so you can just configure that from where you want to use it. No need of purchasing server, software, data center space, or network equipment. Users rent those resources as a fully outsourced service on demand. So you don't need to buy anything. You will just need your system to work upon it. Rest, you can rent everything. Rent means you are not buying the systems from Azure, you are just renting it and paying it according to your needs. Let's talk about the IaaS characteristics. So computing resources are provided to IaaS users as a service. Everything is provided as a service as a rent to you. IaaS providers provide tools that enable IaaS users to configure the dynamic scaling of resources. So they are providing us everything. Even if we need to scale up the things, they will provide us with the thing. We don't need to worry about even that also. IaaS providers usually have different resource offerings at different costs and follow utility pricing model. So yeah, IaaS providers might be having different kind of, for example, a person is using 8 GB RAM in virtual machine and another person is using 16 GB RAM in his virtual machine. So they both will vary in terms of cost. So we need to think accordingly that what are our needs. Then accordingly we can borrow or rent the things from Azure. The same physical resources are shared among multiple users. Yeah, since it is a virtual machine, so it might happen that your company might be sharing the same virtual machine with you or and your another colleague. So this is the main thing, that you should not upload any kind of your personal data over. Next, talk about use cases. So as is favored when demand for computing resources is volatile. For example, e-commerce site experience as the most demand during the holiday season, right? So you can just think of snacks. So on a regular basis, the snack sales are a regular one. But at a sudden, when the new year comes or any kind of tour month comes, at a sudden their sales rises. Exactly the same things happen with ads. Uh, Many people might, the users over maybe Facebook, might be managing the things on a normal base. But at a sudden, when festival came, the posting of their photos rises. So it might happen that many servers go down. So they may need to work more time at that time according to the need of the user. For new organizations that do not, sorry, for new organizations that do not have the capital to invest in infrastructure on site. Yeah, so if you do not have so much of funding as you are a new startup, if then IaaS products can be really helpful because you don't need to work upon many new systems for each and every people. When organizations need to grow their IT resources rapidly, for example, internet startup company. So if you want to increase your things, like if you think that your things are presently at a low scale, but it can grow at a large scale, then you can use IaaS. for temporary project or temporary infrastructure needs when organizations require a large amount of compute power for a limited amount of time. Right. Whenever the users need increases or demand increases, you can rent more virtual machines from the providers and then work accordingly. And if they are not in use, you can just lend them back. So it is easily done over IaaS services. IaaS is not favored when regulatory compliance does not allow data to offshore or outshore. So you need to think, because if your data is somewhat important, then you need to think what cloud service provider you are using and what are the things you are uploading over it. Applications have strict quality of service requirements. Yeah, so it depends upon the company's rules and regulations. You may use as, you may not. So it will really depend, because if you have a very big company, they will not allow anyone else to use their data. For example, Facebook. So they will be managing their own servers and their own data center. Organizations have existing in-house customized infrastructure to meet their IT needs. So again, the web thing come here. If you need to customize it, then you cannot use the IaaS service. Some examples of IaaS are Azure Virtual Machine, as I talked about virtual machine, Amazon Web Services, it is also an IaaS product, Google Compute Engine or Google Cloud Providers, and VMware is also somewhat kind of virtual machine. So you can now see the green part is the things which you manage, and the blue part is the cloud provider managing things. So in SaaS, you just manage data and its access. For example, Gmail. You might be having different credentials to log into Gmail. You just manage that. Rest, what are the things happening behind it? What are the computing, networking, storage part going on? You do not need to manage anything over SaaS product. SaaS, platform as a service. You manage data, access, and application, because it is provided as an application to you, as a platform to you to develop new things. So you just manage those things. Other than that, for example, in WordPress, as I told, you are going and creating website. Other than that, how they are making it, how they're deploying it, you don't need to worry about it. And infrastructure as a service, you manage data and its access, applications, runtime, OS, because you are renting the virtual machines, and as I said, virtual machine. So you are managing so many things over infrastructure as a service, and the cloud provider manages the computing, networking, and storage part. And if you are having your on-premises, that is kind of capital expenditure part, you are managing your own data centers or servers, then you need to manage everything, and also the cost of the power supply, the cost of the security, and everything. Let's talk about serverless computing, because it is really a blooming topic now. But do the servers are really serverless? It is not. Serverless computing basically is conveying a thing that you don't need to think about the servers. You just need to work upon the thing you are creating. You do not need to think upon that how the servers will manage. So let's talk about the definitions of it. Serverless computing enables developers to build applications faster by eliminating the need for them to manage infrastructure. So you don't need to worry in serverless computing about the infrastructure and any kind of service or any kind of server. You just need to code. Like if you are developing something, you just need to code without thinking over any other detail. Now let's talk about the types of clouds available. So we have three types of cloud. First is public cloud, second is private cloud, and third is hybrid cloud. So according to the name, public cloud is the cloud, for example, Azure, right? So it is publicly available. I can use it, you can use it. So it is known as public cloud, which everyone can use. Private cloud. So if we are setting our on-premises data centers, it can be termed as private cloud, which is private to us, our company, and nobody else can use it. Hybrid cloud. You might be having some works over the internet, and you might be having some data which is supposed not to be shared over the cloud, right? So at that time, you can use hybrid cloud. That is, you are using on-premises data center to and also some cloud service provider. So this is the three types of clouds available. People generally go for public cloud if they are a startup or a mid company. If you are a really big company, then you go for your private cloud. And if you are someone who have some kind of data, for example, if you are managing some social media company, you have created your own social media applications, then you may need to go for hybrid cloud, because the credentials or the data of the users are really precious, and they will not want that the data is stolen by else, right? So at that time, you can go for hybrid cloud for storing the private one to go for storing the data and your systems over the internet. So public cloud, right? So you can just see a picture depicting the things that which are more secure, which are not secure, because public cloud is publicly available. So if hackers get the things done, then they can just take over your data. And private clouds are totally private, so your data is totally safe and secure, but it again needs a really costly setup. So this is a picture depicting the public cloud. Each and everyone can use it, be it a company, be it a personal user or a home use. This is the picture of private cloud. It is private to an organization and nobody else can use it. So the data is really secure there. And this is hybrid cloud. Some parts are used by the publicly available, and that is on cloud, and some are private to the organization that can be used by anyone else. No hacker can hack it. Let's talk about the cloud providers present. So Azure mainly talk about two, that is Microsoft Azure and another open source one. So Azure have virtual machines, and the machine could run Windows and Linux, because and Mac OS not free, right? They have different kind of storage system like Azure Blob Storage, Azure Table, Azure File Storage, Azure Cosmos DB, and Stir Simple. So if I will go into details of these kind of storages, then it will take a lot of time. So for these detailed study, you can go to the Microsoft Learn and can go through each and every one of them in detail. For networking, it has Azure Virtual Network, Azure Express Route, Azure Traffic Manager, which can be helped in managing the traffic. PaaS products. Azure offers several PaaS products such as web app feature. So you are creating some kind of website, you can deploy it over this PaaS product of Azure. Azure Function, you can directly go and code your things there. HD Insights, it is mainly help in kind of AI part. Azure Kubernetes services and Azure Machine Learning. So these are the services which help in these kind of services. Like Azure Machine Learning, they have mainly two kinds of systems which can be used. For example, if you are a company, for example, talking about Facebook, you generally get the feed which you visit on a regular basis. So it is managed by this kind of machine learning part. So this is mainly managed by Azure also. You can use Azure services if you have this kind of product which need to show the people the things which they like. Next is OpenStack. OpenStack, as the name suggests, it is an open source cloud provider, but it is not safe because it is open source. It also has PaaS products. Now let's talk about cloud use cases in a nutshell. So it has web and mobile applications which can be used, which are SaaS based, PaaS based, and IaaS based, because you use Gmail on your phone too, right? It has big data analytics services. It has on-demand high-performance computing. If at a sudden your user base or your data exceeded than your capacity, it can increase, and in a second, you don't need to worry upon. It has online storage and archival. Yeah, so archival is also there. For example, you have some kind of credentials which are not used on a regular basis. You can upload it in Azure Vault, right? And you can just archive it so that it is not openly available to everyone. And then if you are in need, you can go add your credentials and then open that, right? It has backup and recovery, because it is available almost on everywhere. Media streaming and content distribution. This Microsoft Teams is an example of it. Personal storage. So you are using Google Cloud for storing your data, so it can be used for personal storages too. You don't need to be an organization to store it, your data. Rapid application development and testing. So presently, majority of the companies work on kind of software providing services, right? So you can easily use cloud to add your things. Like a team is working on a project, so your whole team can work on a project, can push your code, and it can be easily tested, and after that deployed over some cloud provider for the public use. Now let's talk about Microsoft Azure in a short term, because Azure is a really big thing. We cannot cover it over one session. So we will be talking about Microsoft Azure in a really small part, just talking about the basics of it. So Microsoft Azure is a cloud computing platform with an ever expanding set of services to help you build solutions to meet your business goals. As I told you, if you are having a business, many big companies, you might not have thought that this might big company are using Azure services, because companies are do not want to waste their money on setting on-premises center. So that's why they go for Azure services. And not only the startups, many well-established, that to international company uses the cloud service providers. If I name them some, Capgemini uses it, L&T uses it, Infosys uses it. So many big MNCs also uses Azure and other cloud service providers too. Azure provides a wealth of cloud-based services like remote storage, database hosting, centralized account management, AI, Internet of Things. So it is providing us almost everything. If you want to store anything, you can store it over Azure. If you want to host your services over it, you can host it. If you have a whole team, but you want that some team can see or work upon this many parts, and the other team can work upon this many parts, then you can manage everything over Azure. You don't need to add any external thing over it to manage the credentials. AI and IoT. So now Azure is having AI and IoT things which can help you in building this kind of product which need AI help or IoT help. What can I do with Azure? So Azure provides more than 100 services like VMs and other software paradigms such as intelligent bots and mixed reality. You can use virtual machines to run your applications, right? So you can use virtual machine if you are having a company and you want your employees to work, because everything is online. So you can use virtual machine in that case. You can also use AI and machine learning services. As I told you that if your product is in need of some kind of AI or ML services, you can go for Azure because the product or the services are available there. In fact, a good way to start is by moving your existing applications to VMs that run in Azure. Right. So you might be having your own small server, but at a sudden to moving to cloud, you need to set up it, and it might take to hire new people. So you can do one thing, that whatever is having on your system, for example, on your laptop, you just transfer it to another VM. VM is also a system. You just can transfer your things over that virtual machine and then start working upon it. If you have time, then you can go for some cloud person to set up the thing. But in an easy way, you can go for just virtual machine and transfer everything from on-premise to cloud. Azure portal. So if you want to use Azure services, you will need to go to the Azure portal, which is a web-based unified console that provides an alternate to command line tool. So if you are a person who is comfortable with command line or PowerShell, then you can use it. But if you're a person who do not know to use PowerShell or command line, then you can easily use Azure services over cloud. You just need to go to portal.azure.com, and everything can be managed from cloud. You don't need to be good in command line interface. What is Azure Marketplace? So Azure Marketplace is a place from where you rent out the services. If you are someone who want to rent out virtual machines, you go to Azure Marketplace to rent it out. If you want storage systems, you can go there and rent out the storage. So talking about Azure services, it is available for every kind of work, be it compute, networking, storage, mobile application creation, databases, web application creation, IoT work, big data, research, AI, DevOps. So Azure is providing each and everything, be it you are any kind of person. If you need storage only, it is providing the storage thing. If you need any kind of AI work, it is providing that too. So Azure is available for everyone, and each and everyone can use Azure, be whatever their work is. So if you want to get started with the Azure accounts, you just need to go it, create your account. You will get some kind of free credits over there, because Azure has credit system. So you will be getting some free credits to use it, to understand it. And to sign up, you just need your phone number, a credit card if needed, and a Microsoft or GitHub account. And if you are an MLSA, then you will get $150 of credits every month from Azure. So if you are an MLSA, you can just go to apply for MLSA, and you can start your own company and host it over Azure. So you will be getting a lot of things. So this is the process: Azure account. Then you go for subscription, because you need to take the subscription, that what all are the services you want to use of Azure. Resource group. So you can just, for example, you are having virtual machines, some different virtual machines. So it is one resource group. You are having storages, it is a different resource group. So you can just divide it, and the resources are the things which are using, like virtual machines, storage, and any other AI tool. So this was it for the cloud and Azure basics. It was the whole basics tour of cloud and Azure, that is the Cloud 101. And thank you for joining us. If you have any questions, then you can go ahead.